If your deep squat looks like this, but you want it to look like this, I've got you. In this video, I'll help you unlock your deep squat in 3 simple steps. But first, why should you even bother with any of this? If you want a deeper squat in the gym, climb stairs without knee pain, or just move like a more mobile version of yourself, the deep squat is your ticket. It builds strength through your full range of motion and teaches your body to move as one solid unit. Think of it like putting money in the bank for your long-term joint health. Now, when I first tried to get into a deep squat, it felt like an impossible task. So eventually, I realized something crucial. In a proper deep squat, your knees need to travel forward over your toes. Now, if your ankle joint, especially the talocrural joint, is restricted, that forward glide is going to get blocked, which is the case for a lot of people. So here's a super simple way to test if you have this restriction. Drop into a half kneeling position with your front foot about 1 hand's width away from the wall. Now try to drive your front knee towards the wall without letting your heel lift. If your heel comes off or your knee can't touch the wall, I've got bad news for you. You failed the test. And this alone can totally mess up your squat mechanics. However, your ankles aren't the only thing that might be keeping you back from a deeper squat. You see, your hips are a ball and socket joint, where the head of the femur, aka your thigh bone, fits into this cup-shaped socket in your pelvis. That design gives you a huge range of motion, but only if the joint is moving well. If the hip capsule, that thick tissue surrounding the joint, gets tight, usually from too much sitting or not moving deeply enough, that glide gets blocked. So to check for hip restriction, we'll first do something called the Faber test. Now this is super simple to check. Just lie on your back and place one ankle on the opposite knee. The goal is for a lifted knee to drop fairly close to the ground, and generally if it's elevated more than 2 fists off the floor, it's going to be a fail. So make sure to check both sides and look for differences, and pay attention to any pinching in the groin or outer hip. So that's external rotation covered. Now let's check the front of the hip. And if you're naturally stiff like I am, I'm willing to bet most of you will have this restriction. So lie flat on your back and pull one knee towards the chest. Let the other leg stay relaxed and extended on the floor. Now here's what to look for. Does your extended leg lift off the ground? Or do you feel a strong tug or block in the front of your hip? If the answer is yes, that usually points to tight hip flexors like the psoas or rectus femoris, which crosses both the hip and the knee. And as always, remember to test both sides. Your body's rarely symmetrical, and those differences matter a lot when it comes to movement. So let's dive into 3 simple stretches that directly fix each of the issues and get you one step closer to a strong, pain-free deep squat. We'll start with the ankles, because if they're stiff, the deep squat doesn't stand a chance. And based on the comments you guys left, this does seem to be one of the most common issues holding most people back. So let's start with the lunge rock. Lower into a half kneeling position with your front foot flat and your back knee resting behind you. From here, gently drive your front knee over your toes, but keep that front heel glued to the floor. Pause briefly at the end range, then return to the start. Do this for 10 slow controlled reps on each side. This move is going to train ankle dorsiflexion, which is crucial for hitting full depth in a squat. It also helps your tibia glide properly over the talus, which is exactly what your ankle joint is supposed to do during deep knee bends like squatting, lunging, or even walking stairs. Now if this feels a bit too easy, try adding a weight on top of your front foot. Loaded mobility like this trains your nervous system to feel safe in that end range and helps turn temporary gains into actual usable mobility. Now even if your ankles are moving quite well, tight hips can mess up the whole thing, especially near the bottom of the squat where your body needs the most freedom to move. So let's loosen that up, starting with the seated figure 4 stretch to target external rotation of the hip. So sit tall on a chair and cross one ankle over the opposite knee. Now gently press the lifted knee downwards while keeping your back straight. You should feel a deep stretch through your glute medius and piriformis right in the side and back of the hip. Hold for 60 seconds, then switch legs, and do a total of 3 rounds per side. Now if the seated stretch feels a bit too easy, the 90-90 is your next step. Sit on the floor with your front leg bent at 90 degrees in front of you, and your back leg also bent at 90 degrees. Stay tall through your chest, and hinge forward with your hips, not the lower back. When you feel a light stretch, hold for 60 seconds per side, and then repeat for 3 rounds. External rotation is one of the biggest missing pieces in stiff squats, so unlocking this really is a big deal. However, there is one last thing we need to do before moving on, because even if your rotation is solid, tight hip flexors can still limit your depth. This is because these muscles need to lengthen at the bottom of a squat so that your pelvis tilts forward and spine remains neutral. And to fix this, the couch stretch is one of the best deep front hip stretches you can do, especially if you've got years of tight buildup. So start in a narrow lunge next to a wall or a sofa. With your back foot tucked under you, slowly lean back using your hands for support. You should feel a big stretch through your quad and into your hip flexor zone. Once you do, hold for 30 to 40 seconds per side and repeat for 3 rounds. To level things up, hip flexor lifts are one of the best ways to actively stretch and strengthen hip flexors at the same time. So get into a long lunge with your back leg straight and hands on the ground for balance. Now try to lift your back leg off the floor while keeping your hips square and your spine tall. The straighter the leg, the more serious activation you're going to feel in your hip flexors as they fire under tension. It's challenging, but it builds strength right where most people need it. So start with 6 slow reps per side, holding the lift for 3 seconds, and complete 3 rounds. Now here's something I really wish I knew earlier. Stretching alone won't actually fix your deep squat. Why? Well, your body has this built-in alarm system, aka your nervous system, and its main job is to protect you. So if you suddenly drop into a deep position you haven't earned, your brain sees it as a big risk, and so the alarm goes off and everything tightens up. That's why we don't just stretch, we also need to train the new range. And to do that properly, we need smart progression. So a great place to begin is the deep squat flow. So lower into a squat with your heels elevated and hands on the floor for support. Now gently shift side to side and explore that range a bit. After 10-15 seconds or so, lift into a forward fold. Briefly pause here and feel the stretch in your hamstrings, and then drop back into the squat. Repeat that flow 3 times for a total of 2 sets. So for step 2, we're going to do a supported deep squat hold. So grab something to elevate your heels, plates, books, or even a rolled up towel will work. Then with your feet a bit over hip width apart, sink into a deep squat. Now don't stress about perfect form here, the goal here is just to get into that position and start feeling comfortable being down there. Now if your ankle and hip mobility was limited, try placing a rolled towel between your thighs and torso. This is going to help your hips stay more aligned and support you as you drop down. Once you can chill in that supported squat for 30 seconds or more, grab anything with weight, a dumbbell, kettlebell, or even a backpack with books will work. Hold it in front of you for counterbalance, and remember to keep your chest up and stay relaxed at the bottom. Start with 3 sets of 20-second holds and gradually try to build up to a full minute. Now this is probably the most important step because it's going to make a huge difference in your flexibility and ability to be strong and stable in the deep squat. So when step 3 feels comfortable, drop the weight and try to put everything together. Start nice and easy with 20 to 30-second holds and repeat that for 3 sets. Now some of you might be wondering, well, how long is this going to take? Here's the honest truth. When I started, I was completely locked up. I couldn't even get halfway down without my hips jamming, my heels lifted, or my whole body compensating just to stay upright. But once I committed to the exact plan I just walked you through, I managed to unlock my deep squat in about 5 to 6 weeks. But it does take a bit of consistency. You've got to stay focused on the right movements and push just hard enough to keep making progress. So if you ever want to come back to this routine, here's the quick game plan. Step 1, find your restriction. Test your ankles and hips and figure out what's actually holding you back. Step 2, fix what's tight. If it's your ankles, use the lunge rock or a weighted version. And if it's your hips, do the figure 4 stretch or 90-90 plus hip lift combo. Step 3, rebuild the pattern. Once things start to open up, use the 3-part progression to unlock your deep squat. Alright, thanks for hanging out with me today, and more importantly, doing something great for your body. Progress takes patience, but showing up like this is what moves the needle. Stick with it, good luck training, and I'll catch you in the next video.